The Metro Court restaurant hummed with its usual low symphony of clinking glasses and hushed conversations, but at one corner table the air was anything but calm. Willow stood stiffly, her fingers curled around the strap of her purse, her eyes locked on Alexis with a mixture of fear and determination. Alexis, ever composed, leaned back in her chair with a practiced calm. Years of courtroom battles and personal storms had taught her how to keep her emotions behind an iron curtain. But today, something about Willow's demeanor told her this wouldn't be an ordinary conversation. "I didn't come here to argue," Willow began, her voice trembling slightly. "I came because you need to understand how serious this is." Alexis arched a brow. "Serious is a word that gets overused in Port Charles. Why don't you tell me exactly what you mean?" Willow hesitated. She had rehearsed this conversation in her mind a dozen times, but now that she was standing in front of Alexis, the words felt heavier. "You need to stop digging into my past. You're making things worse for everyone." Alexis folded her hands on the table. "I don't dig for sport, Willow. I ask questions when something doesn't add up. That's what I do." "And what if your questions hurt people?" Willow asked quietly. Alexis studied her carefully. "Then maybe the truth was already hurting them long before I came along." Willow's eyes flickered with frustration. "You don't understand. Some things are better left alone." "Are they?" Alexis replied, her tone calm but firm. "Because in my experience, secrets don't stay buried. They grow, they spread, and eventually they surface in ways far more damaging." Willow's jaw tightened. "You're putting my family at risk." Alexis leaned forward now, her gaze sharper. "I would never intentionally put a child or a family at risk, but if there's something that needs to come out for everyone's sake, I won't ignore it." Willow's voice lowered. "I'm asking you to stop." Alexis held her gaze. "And I'm telling you I can't." The tension between them felt almost tangible, like a wire stretched too tight. Other diners glanced over, sensing the unease. Willow exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. "You don't know what you're stepping into." Alexis's expression softened just a fraction. "Then help me understand." But Willow shook her head. "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you." "Try me," Alexis said. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Finally, Willow whispered, "There are things from my past that I've worked very hard to leave behind. If they resurface, they could change how people see me, how my children see me." Alexis's voice grew gentler. "Everyone has parts of their past they're not proud of, but living in fear of them doesn't make them disappear." Willow swallowed. "I can't let that happen." Alexis nodded slowly. "I hear you, but I can't promise to ignore something that might matter to other people." Willow's frustration turned into quiet desperation. "So you're choosing this over my peace?" "I'm choosing honesty," Alexis replied. Willow stepped back, her hands shaking slightly. "Then don't be surprised if this turns into something you can't control." Alexis didn't flinch. "I don't scare easily, Willow, and I don't back down when I believe I'm doing the right thing." Willow turned and walked away, her footsteps quick and uneven. Later that evening, Alexis sat alone in her office, replaying the conversation in her mind. Willow hadn't sounded malicious, she had sounded frightened, and that worried Alexis more than anything. She opened a file on her desk, staring at the notes she had gathered. Something wasn't lining up, and Willow's reaction confirmed it. A knock came at her door. "Come in?" Alexis called. Diane stepped inside, eyeing her friend carefully. "You look like you just walked out of a storm." Alexis sighed. "I might have just walked into one." Diane crossed her arms. "What happened?" "Willow," Alexis replied. "She practically begged me to stop asking questions." Diane's brows lifted. "That bad?" "She wasn't angry. She was scared." Diane frowned.
Scared people don't usually ask politely. They panic. Alexis nodded. Exactly. Meanwhile, Willow paced in her living room, her thoughts racing. Michael watched her with concern. What happened? He asked gently. She won't stop, Willow said, no matter what I said. Michael placed a hand on her shoulder. Maybe this is something we can handle together. Willow shook her head. You don't understand. If Alexis uncovers certain things, everything we've built could change. Michael frowned. What are you talking about? Willow hesitated, then looked away. I just need this to go away. The next day, Alexis visited Laura. You look troubled, Laura observed. I had an encounter with Willow, Alexis said. She's been under a lot of pressure lately, Laura sighed. I know, but this felt different, like she's carrying something heavy. Laura's expression turned thoughtful. Willow has always tried to be strong. Maybe she's reached her limit. Alexis leaned back. I don't want to hurt her, but I can't ignore what I'm seeing. Laura placed a hand on hers. Then tread carefully. Not everyone is ready for their past to catch up with them. As days passed, the tension in Port Charles grew. People sensed something was off between Willow and Alexis, though no one knew the details. At the hospital, Willow found herself distracted, making small mistakes she normally never would. TJ noticed. You okay? He asked. Just tired, she replied. But even she knew it was more than that. That evening, Alexis received an anonymous envelope slipped under her office door. Inside was a single photograph from years ago. Willow was in it, younger, visibly distressed, standing beside someone Alexis didn't recognize. Alexis stared at it, her mind racing. This is what she's afraid of, she murmured. But instead of feeling triumphant, she felt concerned. When Alexis finally confronted Willow again, her tone was different. I found something, Alexis said quietly. Willow's face went pale. You told me to stop. I'm not here to expose you, Alexis said. I'm here to understand. Tears welled in Willow's eyes. You don't know what that moment cost me. Then tell me, Alexis urged, and for the first time, Willow did. She spoke about mistakes, about fear, about decisions made when she felt alone and overwhelmed. Nothing malicious, just human, painfully human. Alexis listened without judgment. When Willow finished, Alexis said softly, This doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who survived something hard. Willow wiped her eyes. But what if others don't see it that way? Then let me help you tell the story properly, Alexis replied. Willow looked at her in surprise. Why would you help me? Because I'm not your enemy, Alexis said. I never was. And in that moment, the tension between them dissolved into something unexpected.
The quiet understanding between Willow and Alexis did not erase the weight of what had been uncovered. If anything, it made the situation more delicate. They sat across from each other in Alexis's office long after Willow had finished explaining the photograph. The room felt different now, less like a battleground, more like a place where something fragile had been placed on the table between them. Alexis spoke carefully. This image on its own doesn't tell the full story, but if it falls into the wrong hands, people could jump to the wrong conclusions. Willow nodded, her hands still trembling. That's what I was afraid of. Not the truth, but how it could be twisted. Alexis slid the photograph into a folder. Then the best defense is clarity. We make sure the context is known before anyone else tries to invent one. Willow looked uncertain. You really think that will work? I've spent my life watching half-truths do more damage than lies, Alexis said. We won't let that happen here. Meanwhile, word had begun to spread that something unusual was going on between the two women. Port Charles was small enough that tension rarely went unnoticed. At the hospital, Willow could feel the curious looks. She tried to focus on her patients, but her mind kept drifting back to Alexis's office and the conversation they had shared. TJ approached her again during a break. You seem lighter today, different from yesterday. Willow offered a faint smile. I had a hard conversation, one I probably should have had a long time ago.
TJ nodded. Those are usually the ones that matter most. Across town, Diane stopped by Alexis's office unannounced. "You've been unusually quiet," Diane noted. "That's never a good sign." Alexis sighed. "I think I misjudged Willow." Diane tilted her head. "How so?" "She wasn't trying to hide something harmful. She was trying to protect herself from being misunderstood." Diane crossed her arms. "That's a very human reaction." Alexis nodded. "And now I feel responsible for making sure she isn't." That evening, Willow finally opened up to Michael. They sat on the couch after the kids had gone to bed, the house wrapped in stillness. "There's something from my past I never told you," Willow began. Michael listened quietly as she recounted the same story she had shared with Alexis. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. When she finished, he simply took her hand. "You went through that alone?" he asked softly. "I didn't think anyone would understand." Michael shook his head. "You don't have to carry things by yourself anymore." Tears filled Willow's eyes, but this time they were tears of relief. The next morning, Alexis received a call from Laura. "I heard things seem calmer between you and Willow," Laura said. "They are, but I have a feeling this isn't over." Laura's voice turned thoughtful. "In this town, old memories have a way of resurfacing when you least expect it." Alexis glanced at the folder on her desk. "That's exactly what I'm worried about." Later that day, a familiar figure was seen asking questions around town about Willow's past. Someone had clearly caught wind that there was a story buried beneath the surface. By the time the information reached Alexis, she knew time was running out. She called Willow immediately. "We may not have as much time as we thought." Willow's voice tightened. "What do you mean?" Alexis said, "Someone else is looking into the same things I was, and they might not be as careful." A long silence followed. "So what do we do?" Willow asked. Alexis answered firmly, "We get ahead of it." That evening, the two women met again, this time not as opponents, but as allies preparing for something uncertain. Willow took a deep breath. "I never imagined I'd be sitting here with you like this." Alexis offered a small smile. "Port Charles has a way of surprising us." They began planning how to present the truth in a way that left no room for distortion. Because now it wasn't just about protecting Willow's past, it was about protecting her future. A steady rain fell over Port Charles as Willow stepped into Alexis's office once again. The weather matched the mood, quiet, tense, and filled with anticipation. Alexis had papers spread across her desk, notes neatly organized. She looked up as Willow entered. "I've made a few calls. If someone is asking questions, we need to assume they're trying to piece together a version of the story without the full picture." Willow nodded slowly. "I never thought something from so long ago could come back like this." Alexis replied, "It's not the past coming back, it's someone trying to use it for their own purpose." That idea unsettled Willow more than anything. Across town, whispers had already started. Nothing specific, just enough curiosity to make people wonder. A few familiar faces had noticed strangers asking about Willow's early days in Port Charles. Laura heard it first and immediately called Alexis. "You were right, someone's stirring the pot." Alexis closed her eyes briefly. "Then we're on borrowed time." That afternoon, Willow sat with Michael at the kitchen table, explaining the plan Alexis had suggested. "We tell the story ourselves before someone else tells it for us." Michael listened carefully. "Are you ready for that?" "I don't know if I'm ready, but I know I can't keep being afraid." Michael squeezed her hand. "Then we face it together." Later, Alexis received an unexpected visitor, Diane. "I heard rumors," Diane said without preamble. "Someone is sniffing around about Willow." Alexis nodded. "Which means they think there's something valuable to find." Diane's expression sharpened. "Do you know who?" Alexis replied, "Not yet, but whoever it is, they're moving quietly." Diane smirked. "Quiet only works until someone louder steps in." Alexis gave her a knowing look. "That's exactly what I'm counting on." The next day, Willow requested a brief meeting at the hospital with a few trusted colleagues. She didn't go into details, but she spoke honestly about having a difficult chapter in her past that might resurface in conversation. TJ and several others listened with compassion rather than curiosity. "You don't owe anyone explanations," TJ told her. "I know, but I don't want whispers turning into something worse." Her openness shifted the tone before rumors could take hold. That evening, Alexis and Willow met once last before putting their plan into motion. "Once this is out," Willow said, "there's no taking it back." Alexis nodded, "But there's also no more hiding from it." Willow managed a small smile. "I never expected you to be the person helping me through this." Alexis returned the smile. "Sometimes the person asking the hardest questions ends up being the one who helps the most." Just as they prepared to move forward, Alexis's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "I know what Willow is hiding." Alexis showed the message to Willow. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. "This is it," Willow whispered. Alexis's expression hardened with resolve. "No, this is where it ends." She calmly typed a response. "You don't know the full story, but you're about to." Willow looked at her with a mix of fear and determination. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was running from her past. She felt like she was standing up to it. And this time, she wasn't standing alone.